Have we just found our Conor Gallagher replacement in Amadou Onana? Today, my friends, we have some massive transfer news to break down today. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. We have a ton of things to get through. Hit that like button if you guys feel confident that we are going to beat Man City tomorrow to get to the FA Cup final. Make sure you guys do that. But before we continue on, today's video is brought to you by Parimatch UK. So, the Blues are heading to Wembley to face Man City in this year's FA Cup semi-final, and our friends over at Parimatch UK are celebrating by offering new customers a very special offer. That's right guys, Chelsea's official betting partners in Parimatch UK are offering new customers £30 in free bets when you place your first £5 bet on this massive game. To claim this offer, simply create a Parimatch account and opt into the promotion. Make your first deposit via debit cards or Apple Pay, then place a pre-match £5 bet on the FA Cup semi-final of odds of even or above. Of course, full terms and conditions always apply with all the links you need right below in the description. So a massive thank you to Parimatch UK for sponsoring this video. Come on you Blues, let's hope that we beat Man City in the semi-final and get to the final of the FA Cup. And getting back into the video, so let's get the first story out of the way and we discuss some very interesting news surrounding Benjamin Sesko. Now this report came from Ben Jacobs plus a few other media outlets, and are we potentially turning to Sesko as an alternative to Victor Osimhen? Now that's too early to say, but this story does have a bit of weight behind it. And what makes the story interesting is that both Man United and Arsenal are showing strong interest in trying to sign the striker, which could force us into making a move. Now Sesko has a very affordable €50 million release clause, which is around £42 million. And what gets even more interesting is that it does seem like this summer Leipzig are open to selling the striker to use his funds to reinvest back into their team. And to give you even more interesting news, Leipzig are open to clubs paying over the release clause value to find a better payment structure over time. Now what makes Sesko even more sexy, I know I keep saying this, but he's on a very, affordable contract. And with Chelsea right now, they see it like this: we could be forced into making an early move to sign him because his value and fee is just that good that we'd be kind of stupid to miss out on signing him. And listen, in football you can never really know every single time how a player's future is set to turn. Let's say worst came to worst and he didn't become the success that we hoped he would become. At least we can obviously sell him on and bring some money back in for him. And we feel pretty confident that there isn't any major losses behind making a move for him this early on. Now on one hand, I think this could really benefit a Nico Jackson. I think he's showing great development in 2025. I do feel like if Osimhen was to come, he's taking that game time away from Nico Jackson. We can say, but he has to fight for his spot, he has to compete realistically in big games, in big moments. You're going to be turning to your star record money striker, right? To be getting those minutes and being in that first team. If Sesko comes, we have two great young strikers that can compete against each other, that have potential to grow. And I do feel like the plus side is it's more affordable that way. I think that's the key thing, because I do think there's a player in Nico where, listen, you give this guy 2 years to compete against someone around his same age, I think he could become one of the leading strikers in Europe. I didn't say one of the best strikers in the world, but one of the leading strikers in Europe, where he's regularly getting to 18 goals plus a season. And for a team like us, where we can spread the goals out over the team, that could work in our favour. Now, as you guys remember, since Clear Lake have taken over, there has been long-term interest in Benjamin Sesko. We've held numerous meetings with his representatives. We tried to sign him before he signed for RB Leipzig, so he's a player that's been on our radar for a very long time. He's been thoroughly scouted, and the club really believe in his potential and hype. Now, he scored 13 goals for Leipzig this season. Listen, he's made a massive step up from the Austrian League to the Bundesliga. He gets these really lazy comparisons to Erling Haaland because they both came from Salzburg. They're both huge, tall strikers, but I think Sesko is a lot different compared to Erling Haaland in terms of how he, likes to carry the ball, how he likes to attack the spaces, how he plays on the shoulder at times. But he's had to learn a lot this season playing in a difficult league, and it's a reminder that even though he has great potential, he isn't necessarily the finished article at this point in time. But after spending a year in the Bundesliga, could he come to the Premier League now and feel more ready and feel a bit more developed now to take on playing in an even more difficult league compared to the Bundesliga? Time will tell, but to be honest with you guys, based on the fee around this move, maybe we'd be kind of stupid to ignore this and let this pass by, because, you know, not many strikers of his potential are available for fees like this. And maybe that tells us that if we aren't able to sign Victor, we're going to use the funds to readdress other concerns and needs in our team. So that is the first story out the way. How do you guys feel about this one? Let us know below. Is Sesko your guy? Yeah, I definitely want to read your opinions on this. And now we discuss one of the big transfer stories of today. And are we set to replace Conor Gallagher with Everton's Amadou Onana? Now, we had a big report that came out from Sport in Spain, and essentially they're saying that at this point in time, we are leading the race to sign Onana over Barcelona. Now, you know, Barca's sporting director Seko was hoping to add a more physical DM profile to their team. You know, he felt like maybe Barca have struggled at times due to lacking that physicality, and Onana was seen as an option for this summer. But the fact that we are now reported as the favourites to sign him is very interesting, and it does seem like Everton now are accepting the fact that they will have to sell, and I'll be discussing why as I discuss the story. But right now Everton want around 70 million euros, which is around 60 million pounds. I guess, you know, still a bit expensive, but not too bad for the potential and the profile of an Onana. And the club may think to themselves, well, if Everton's form continues to drop, let's say they find themselves relegated at the end of the season, well, Onana's price and fee gets even less. So time will tell. Let's see how things play out. But as I said, Everton have accepted the fact that they must sell. A few seasons back, they had to sell Anthony Gordon to Newcastle, and right now it seems like there are two stars in Branthwaite and Onana will be the next two big players out the door due to Everton's very precarious financial situation. Now, as we already know, they failed profit and sustainability rules. They breached them a few times already this season, and they've suffered 2 points deductions up to the total of 8 points. They just posted their accounts and they recorded pre-tax losses of £89.1 million. Their net debt rose to around £330.6 million. So right now, selling players, two big players in a Branthwaite and Onana that could bring in over 100 million for them is the safest way for them to try and readdress any concerns of them potentially failing profit and sustainability rules again for next season, and they can't afford to do that. In the meantime, Everton have been crossing their fingers and waiting for their takeover from Miami-based investment firm 77 Partners to get completed, because, you know, this investment firm agreed to buy a 94% stake from, you know, the former Everton owner in Moshiri. But there's been 7 months of inaction since, and I'm going to put on screen exactly the preconditions that have not been met at this point in time, because obviously, you know, if investors want to buy any football club, they must fall in line with the right adequate laws in this country, and that is passing the Premier League owners and directors test. So if they're not going to pass that, then obviously they're not going to be allowed to buy any football club. And as you guys have seen on screen, there's many stipulations needed to really safeguard, you know, clubs, but many like nefarious investors, right? So I guess there is some positive news in the sense that recently Everton were granted a last-minute extension which allows them to, you know, cough up the 160 million loan repayment. But realistically, you know, they have their own parcel deadline. They must raise funds before the 30th of June. And they're not doing well in the league, and they don't have much bargaining power. So is there a potential here to get a cut price deal on an Amadou Onana? Time will tell, but you know what, I need to give some thoughts and opinions on him, because I've been saying this for a long time this season. If we are sending Conor Gallagher, it really comes down to how we plan to use our midfields, and I've always felt like if an idea was maybe to sign a more physical DM profile to sit, then maybe Caicedo then effectively replaces Gallagher, playing a more box-to-box offensive role. Because to be honest, I do see shades of Michael Essien and Caicedo. He might not have the world-class, you know, shooting technique, but I see shades of Caicedo having that Essien-like ability. And I think, could that be the ultimate position to really unlock Caicedo and make one of the leading midfield players in Europe? I mean, we broke the record in this country to buy him, so we must do everything in our power to get the maximum out of our investment. And having an Onana sitting, providing that physicality, aerial threat, the ability to break up play. Could that allow Enzo and Caicedo to do what they have to do in the final third? Time will tell. I like Amadou, I like Onana. I understand the difficulties he's had this season because Everton as a team haven't been as great. He has had a bit more license under Dyche to get forward a bit, but at times his form has dipped. But I guess, you know, in these circumstances, you're not going to see players playing at their very best, right? So I say this because Onana still has work to do. He's not necessarily like the finished article, but I feel like he could make that Rice development where over the next 2 years, he could be one of the leading DMs in the country. But I think for that to happen, I think Onana would have to accept, listen, my future is to play as a DM, which means that he has to fine-tune certain parts of his game. He has to improve on his defensive work rate and his thinking. I know that he likes to get forwards, but I do think if he wants to make it at the highest level, I think partially accepting that he is a DM is the way to go, and we could be the club to help unlock him because he could form a very technical, potent, offensive, you know, powerful midfield alongside Enzo and Caicedo. So let's see what happens with this story. How do you guys feel about this? Onana to replace Gallagher? Let us know, man. Now we discuss another surprise story that's been coming out from Brazil. It's been reported by UOL, and I'll be planning on recruiting another player for our multi-network model. There seems to be some weight behind the story because they report that right now we are targeting Palmeiras left back in Vanderlan. Now, the report says that we've been scouting him for the past few months, and right now we are so convinced by what the scouting reports are saying that we are going to make the next step and actually make a move and negotiate to try and sign Vanderlan this summer. He's a 21-year-old left back, and the plan would be for him to get loaned out to Strasbourg, which for myself could be the best way to do things. You know, the fact that Andre Santos is likely staying there again next season. You know, he was awarded the Young Player of the Month award, which is, you know, great progression for a player that hasn't played as much, football this season. Stability is key. And that tells me that maybe Gabriel will also stay there again to build off the season he's having, because he hasn't been like the undisputed star in Strasbourg throughout the season. There's a lot more work to come from him. If you're going to add like more Brazilian players that we're hoping to sign to that contingency, that could be a bit of a healthy environment and dynamic that you're creating that can allow these guys to also like grow on and off the field as well too. So listen, allegedly Palmeiras are asking for around 15 million euros, which is not too bad and falls within, like, you know, the spending limits of our multi-network model. And listen, if we can sign a left back that could one day have the potential to maybe be a squad player in the first team, a first team player, or just get sold and flipped on so we can reinvest back into the team, I guess I'm okay with something like this, and I'm not opposed. It seems like he's having a very solid and good season. He seems to be quite well balanced in terms of how he attacks and defends as well. You guys are watching his video, his compilation clips, so, you know, share your thoughts and opinions behind what you're seeing. But I'm also curious because I'm thinking to myself, okay, are we potentially trying to like soften Palmeiras' stance around our efforts to currently sign Esteval Willian? Because a report came out recently to state that they've rejected our offer of around 40 million plus 20 million add-ons, and they're even thinking about maybe offering Esteval Willian a contract extension which actually increases his release clause value, because they feel like this guy could be an absolute superstar and be one of the most expensive players they ever sell in their history. So I don't know, maybe if we look to maybe do more business with them, could they potentially soften their stance and let us secure a deal for Willian? Because he's the wonder kid I want to sign, and I think, listen, pay that type of money for him because I think he has potential to come good. So how do you guys feel about this story? Like, let us know too. And to end things very quickly on the final story, but Ian Matson has confirmed that he wants to remain at Borussia Dortmund for next season, which is good news for us in a sense because this guarantees that Dortmund now are set to activate its release clause at the end of the season to beat out any competition from other clubs also circling around Ian Matson. Now, listen, I can't keep repeating myself. You guys know my thoughts and opinions behind how I feel about how we've kind of not given the opportunities to Matson. But realistically, I accept that we're using the funds to reinvest back in the team. I don't know who the star alternative left backs are on the market. I know they're talking about Kirkesh from Bournemouth being one of the favourites, but is he necessarily better than Matson right now? Could he put in a performance like what Matson did against Atletico Madrid? I'm not too sure, to be honest with you, but it's the reality. And we are going to be selling Matson. So listen, I'm hoping he has the best career he has. He's having a phenomenal start to life with Borussia Dortmund. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if one day in the future he's playing for a massive club or even a Man City or something. That really wouldn't surprise me at all. So yeah, we basically say goodbye to Ian Matson. And on that note, I'm going to be saying goodbye to you guys as well, because right now I got somewhere to be. I got a motor for tonight. I need to have my shower. I need to get ready. And then obviously tomorrow, big match day for Man City. So make sure you guys are here on Blue Lines TV, yeah? So my friends, on that note, I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lines TV. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good Friday.